accelerate our timeline. And this particular property is presently known by ownership as the Allerton property, Section 4, Block 1, Lot 59, and Section 4, Block 1, Lot 66. And in order to comply with the scheduling dates of the court, we've got to commission and or retain an appraiser to commence the preparation of the initial appraisal work, conversion to a trial appraisal for purposes of going forward with the trial. That doesn't mean we're going there. It doesn't mean we'll necessarily be our final destination, but it's a requirement along the way.
Okay.
And then attached, as you see, the Molinas proposal is, with regards to the two parcels, somewhat confusing because the petitioner combined the two parcels. They're related, but not contiguous.
Okay.
And he breaks down the projected expenses there. And as I've indicated to you in the past, the arrangement I have with this particular appraiser is that he gives us a maximum amount and backs down from that based upon the work required. But it doesn't require sequential authorizations from the board. And then you're informed up front, if you will, what your potential cost is.
And he can complete this in the timeline that's required by
He's very tight. One of the conditions, just so the board's aware, is that we've got to have access to the property for inspection purposes by early next week, or otherwise we'll never be able to comply with the timeline. I mean, we're allowed by law to inspect the property physically. We've asked any number of times to access the property. We've been assured by the attorney that access will be granted, but the principals have not allowed it yet. And we're on the 28th now, Thursday. We don't have it by Monday, Tuesday next week. I expect the attorney to also join in an application to adjourn or modify the scheduled date.
Okay, very good.
Status-wise, that's where you are.
All right, someone like to make a motion regarding this?
So moved. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
I moved it. Who seconded it?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This next one is pointed out earlier about the Moon Creek Intermunicipal Council. Susan Cleaver was very instrumental in our communicating with us in our resolution regarding this. We need to have an alternate. And again, as I mentioned, Neil, our building inspector, is the.
We didn't do a roll call vote. I don't think
we need to do this, do we?
It says it.
It should be recited. I took it.
It says roll call vote on the bottom.
The vote should be cast and recorded. I took it as a unanimous consent.
Well, I'm just asking, and that one I
would recommend that. That's been our procedure in the past, especially in the expenditure of the tax.
All right. Well, let's have a roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is that good enough, Phil?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anyway, Susan Cleaver was, very much involved in this Moon Creek Intermunicipal Council development concept, and we need an alternate in case our building inspector cannot make it. And so, based on the fact that she had been working on this and has interest in doing it, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize Susan Cleaver to be or we appoint her as our alternate to this particular municipal council.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just wish we didn't have to labor as an alternate. She's wonderful for the environment here in Goshen. Does a lot of work in the town, so.
Oh, yeah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. This next one, it's an interesting one. going back to when we had the MTBE problem in 2006, and the contamination in the soil out in the Department of Public Works. When we did that, we had to call in PESH, which is the Public Employee Safety, I don't know what the keys were, training or I don't know what it was. But anyway, the PESH inspector came along with the DEC and all these others and put us through a lot of paces, and we were vindicated that we were not the cause of this. But it was an entrance for PESH to come and look at everything. And they've been here every 6 months doing some kind of inspection or audit or whatever. And through these years, it was made apparent to us that we needed to have a workplace violence program and do the training, and that we needed to make a confined workplace entry training and program. And that's where if you've got, for example, a hole in the ground or whatever, and where, for example, like a manhole on a sewer system where you can get methane gas in there, if you go down there without testing and doing this and doing that and having a respirator on and whatnot, you can die. And as a consequence, we went through all that training, and we also worked with our workman's comp people and our police department had all the workforce violence training and the prevention training. And so PESH came back and said, well, yeah, you've done all the training, but you don't have a program. And so we looked at the law and this and that, and sure enough, in the law it says you've got to have a program. And we said, well, who's got a program? Well, not many people around have programs because PESH hasn't been to these other municipalities yet. And so, but for example, Fort Jervis has a confined space program, and they spent like $5,000 to have a consultant come in and do it all for them. I think there's another town who had the consultant come in and put their program together and do their training for their workplace violence prevention, and it was several dollars as well. So anyway, when I met with the PESH inspector yesterday, and he said, well, you know, you're running out of time, and you have to have by November 8th these plans in place and programs in place, even though you've done all your training and everybody signed off on this. So he said, you need to go for an extension, which we're doing at the current time. It will probably be a 90-day workday extension. But what I'd like to do is get authorization from the board to search out someone who can help put these programs together for us, a consultant, and shop around and try to get a good price and get on with it because of the timeline. Now, if we don't get the extension and we don't do this, there's a certain fine per day, and so it'll start costing us. And so that's where we're at. So I would like to make a motion, or would someone make a motion then to authorize the supervisor to hire a consultant to develop a confined workplace entry program and a workplace violence prevention program for the New York State law.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, would that fall under the sunset law?
No.
For an extension?
Very good.
I
just pulled your leg. Paul,
Do you have anybody in mind?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Because the only thing I was thinking of is in that meeting that we had today, I forget the gentleman's name, not Lauren Pratt, the other guy. Whatever his name was.
The insurance guy.
The insurance guy.
Well, what I'm thinking about is in maybe an executive session, I'll tell you more about the name and what I'm thinking about it.
But my point was Selective Insurance, I didn't know this, but Selective Insurance has a full-time safety guy. And not that he could write it, but he might be able to give us a tip on who.
Yeah, there's a lot of, whoever we have, and I've got someone in mind, I would like them to research out where the sources of information are and then do it in short order.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Can we go through now the resolution to accept the bids of surplus property?
Yeah, for the board's edification, you have in front of you a resolution referring back to our designation of surplus property and the procedures for sale, which was adopted by this board on September 16, 2010. And as recited in this resolution, apparently Superintendent of Highways went out to bid, and items 1 through 6 reflect the results of those bids, and his